if you've ever wanted to know what it really takes to make more money in social work or for yourself as a social worker or as a helping professional, stay tuned because we're going to talk about the fundamental thing that you've got to do in order to be a rich social worker. Hi guys, my name is Eva Ford, social worker, mindset mentor, and coach. And today's topic is actually mindset. Now, I know it might not be the sexiest of topics, but mindset is really fundamental to any conversation that we have on this channel about money or earning more or living a really truly rich life. Now, if it's your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and even like this video. YouTube does something with the algorithm so more people can see it. And mindset is such a fundamental topic that more people need to understand. Now, you will know from your study of social work and therapy and theories and cognitive behavioral theory in particular that our thinking is what determines our behavior, and our behavior then determines our results. So it makes sense to really go into this topic of mindset and to talk about how it actually impacts our money and the social work profession and the money that we get as social workers. Now, science has said that we have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day. I know, crazy, right? But the challenge is that most of those thoughts are repeated from the day before. And unless we can have new thoughts that bring us new behaviors and new results, we are likely to continue to get the same results that we got the day before and the day before that and the day before that. And if you're happy with the money that you're making right now, go ahead and do that formula. But if not, then it makes sense that we really dive into this topic of money and a wealth mindset. Now, if you don't know my story, I live in Jamaica now. I didn't always live in Jamaica, but for years I had worked at a university, and when I quit, I decided that I would get a small loan. There had been a hurricane and part of my roof had blown off, and I was eligible for a $10,000 loan at the time, which I promptly applied for and got. And I was so excited because I thought, yay, finally, I can fix up the house, I can rent it out, and I can start to see some improvement in my income. And one of the things I did not realize was I didn't know that there were things about money and finances that I didn't know. And so I borrowed the money, I invested it in something that I thought was a good investment, and I promptly lost $7,000 of my $10,000 investment. And I still had to continue to pay back the bank for 5 years. And I think it was like some crazy 35% interest rate or something like that. It was really crazy. And what struck me in that time was, wow, I really don't know what I thought I knew about money. But the second thing that struck me was I'm a social worker. I figure things out. I find solutions to things. And if there's something that I don't know, I know how to find out information that will help me. And so I started on this quest. I started on this journey to find out what I didn't know about money, to find out what I didn't know about investing. Now, it wasn't easy. It was intimidating. It was scary. And I didn't have money, so it felt a little frustrating, like going uphill and against the wind. But one of the things that I kept hearing when I was reading books and listening to YouTube videos and podcasts was that I needed to have what I kept hearing was a wealth mindset or a wealth mentality. And I couldn't figure it out because for me, I thought, I'm pretty intelligent. Just tell me what to think and I'll think it. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And what kept coming up for me was that there are people who didn't go to the school that I went to, who don't know the things that I know and have the value that I have in terms of my social work skills and knowledge. And yet they have the mentality that I don't seem to have, but I can get it. And so the first thing that I want to share with you is to wrap your head around this concept that there is a way to think about money and finances. Now, in another video, I'll share with you 10 reasons why I think social workers don't talk about money. And one of those reasons is because we have such shame around it, and because we are just not skilled at it. We've never been taught how to talk about it. We've never been taught how to think about it. Generally as a culture, but especially in the social work profession, we've got messaging that reinforces that it's not important. But I'm telling you in this video that that mindset of thinking that money is not important, or that mindset that says this is a part of my life that I'm ashamed of, so I don't actually want to deal with it, that's actually counterproductive to a wealth mentality, or in this case, a rich social work mentality that you've got to be able to cultivate. And again, we're cultivating this mentality first to set the foundation for everything else that we're going to do. It starts with our thinking, right? So as I was overcoming my financial challenge and learning about what a wealth mentality was, the thing that I had going for me is that I had a growth mindset. Now, if you've never heard of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, I encourage you to pick up the book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. And she talks about the difference between these two mindsets. And in the book, she explains that in a fixed mindset, people believe that their qualities are fixed and their traits, and therefore they can't change, or even a situation can't change. So when you hear people say, or maybe when you say things like, this is the amount of money that we can make in social work, there's no money in social work, this is the reality that we have to face, those are all statements that speak to someone with a fixed mindset. Whereas on the other hand, someone with a growth mindset believes that their learning and intelligence can grow with time and with experience. And they believe that situations can change and improve, and that they have an integral part to play in that as well. And that's what we want to encourage on this channel. We want to encourage the thinking that says there is another way to think about money. There is another way to think about self-care and the value that I place on myself. There is another way to set up my boundaries in every aspect of my life so that I can really live this rich social work lifestyle that I choose to live. This is what we believe on this channel, and this is what I want to encourage you to start with as well. So in cultivating your wealth mentality or your rich social work mentality, first thing you want to do is make sure that you're coming from a growth mindset perspective. Now, the second thing that you want to do is you want to actually get clear on what some of those messages have been for you, and what are some of those subconscious programs that are running in the back of your mind. Now, I mentioned before that science has suggested that we have anywhere between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day. And if we're running the same programs, then we can expect to have the same results. So I want to encourage you as a first step to get a sheet of paper and physically write down what is some of the messaging that you received when you were younger. When I did this exercise, I identified 3 major sources. I identified messaging from my family, when my parents would say, I don't have a dime to my name, or I'm as broke as a church mouse. That kind of messaging from my church. Things like the love of money is the root of all evil, and God wants us to sacrifice. And finally, I identified messaging from my profession of social work that said things like, it's not about the money. Don't worry about the money. There's no money in this profession. We don't do it for the money anyway. Which I understand, of course, is to take the focus off of the money and put the focus on the human being. But what it does too is it inadvertently diminishes the value of money, which is crazy because we need money in order to make the kinds of impacts on the types of scales that we really want to make. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do is take a sheet of paper. On one side of the paper, you're going to write down those messages that you received. Maybe you received them from members in your community, or maybe they're strong messages in your culture. Maybe they're coming from your religious upbringing, and maybe they're coming from social work or from your teachers or from people in your family. And then on the other side, you're going to write down what you know to be the truth, or what you have heard, or what you would rather be the truth. So if you've heard, let's say, money doesn't grow on trees, and you're going to write that down on one side, think about it this way. You pay for apples at the store. Apples grow on trees. That could be money that grows on trees. You pay for avocados. A lot of people like avocados. Those grow on trees. Money actually does grow on trees. So on the other side of that sheet of paper, I want you to write the truth, or what you would rather think and believe. Remember, we're trying to reprogram our minds and shape our mindsets so that we can have the actions that then follow through with that. Now, the next thing that I would really encourage you to do to start to create this wealth mentality, or this rich social work mentality, is to pick up 2 books in particular. The first book, and the book that I started with that I swear by, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, let me know in the comments if you've read this book, or if you want me to do a book review on it. I love this book. This is the book that really opened my eyes and had me to start thinking about, or thinking differently about money and how wealthy people think about money. Did you know that most people consider their houses an asset? And even at the bank, even now, bankers will tell you that your house is an asset. But what Kiyosaki taught me in Rich Dad, Poor Dad was, unless your house is making money for you, let's say you're renting out a part of it that's covering the mortgage, it's actually a liability and it's taking money from you. So tips like that really helped me to change my mindset and start to think in a way that wealthy people do. And I was able to start to make different decisions and see different results. So that is the first book that I want you to pick up. Now, the next book I want you to pick up that really specifically speaks to creating a wealth mentality is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Now, there are several books that I've read and several that I really want to tell you about right now and that I'll be talking about on this channel. But that book specifically talks about the differences, the different thinking, the different practices that wealthy people do that others can learn from, and how they think. And so I want to encourage you, pick up books, start to read things about money and wealth and income earning. Even if it's not something you feel that you're savvy about, at this level, we're just trying to find out what the mindset is, or what the thinking is, of people who earn a lot of money or have multiple streams of income in ways that we don't, and we're just trying to get our feet wet in terms of changing our mindsets. So do that. That's the second thing I would recommend you do. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is to find a podcast, find a YouTube channel, find something online that you can listen to, that you can watch, that you can follow, that has regular updates, that's focused on the topic of money. Jim Rohn, who was a leadership development kind of superstar in the personal development world, he said that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time around. Now, you may not spend a lot of time around individual people, but your influences, you may spend a lot of time watching TV, or you may spend a lot of time absorbing information from podcasts. So this is why it's so important, because you want to up your average, you want to up your income, and so you've got to surround yourself with the influences that can help you do that. subscribe to podcasts, subscribe to YouTube channels, and listen to what people are saying. Listen to those interviews. I will put a couple recommendations down in the comment section or down below in the description, and take your pick and follow along. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to find a mentor, a physical person, an actual person who you know or who you can get to know who has some success financially. And I want you to ask them to be your mentor. Ask them if you can take them out to coffee or have a conversation with them, or ask them how you can add value to them, because you would like to learn a bit of what you need to do and the thinking that you've got to have so that you can follow in their footsteps a little bit. All right. People that follow this channel might be some of those people you would ask as well. You can reach out to me, follow this channel. I hope you're subscribed and you click that notification bell, because each week these are the types of things that we can talk about. So put your question in the comment section and we will address it. I'll either address it in the comment section, or I might even make a video about it. But you want to find a mentor, someone that you can follow that can help you as you're on this rich social work path, as you're increasing your wealth mentality, so that you don't keep doing the same things that you did the day before, thinking the same way that you thought in the past and not making any progress. That's no good. And that stops right here. The next thing that I would really encourage you to do is to subscribe to blogs. Now, there's a ton of financial blogs out there. There are a ton of people that you could follow. I will put a few recommendations in the section in the description below. What this will do is it will provide you regular information coming to your inbox. And once you subscribe, though, you've got to read the information. Again, the goal is to help you shift your mindset around money, around wealth, around value, and you want to get closer to thinking the way that people who earn a lot of money, invest well, do well with their money. You want to get close to what they're thinking so that you're doing what they're doing. So subscribing to blogs and getting that regular information in your inbox and reading it is also a great way. Now, the last recommendation I have for you is to attend a conference. Now, I would bet that the majority of social workers that I know have never even thought of going to a conference on money, have never even thought of going to a conference on investing or diversification or anything like that. Why? Because for the most part, we're always looking at conferences that will help us get CEUs to keep our licensing up, or that will help us improve the practice in and of itself. But I'm telling you, if there's anything that you want to improve in, you've got to seek out information in that category. And money is such a huge topic for so many of us, but we don't actually seek out information on how to educate ourselves or how to get more knowledge about how to get more money. So I really want to encourage you, look for some conferences, look for some meetup groups, and I mentioned that in another video. Look for some spaces where there are people that are gathering, that are talking about this thing, and get involved. Find yourself there. Yes, there will likely be a small investment at the beginning, but you can find spaces where there isn't a huge investment. These are the suggestions that I have for you to really support your mindset. And finally, I think I said finally before, but finally, make a plan. And you're going to want to watch my video on goal setting and planning, but you're going to want to make a plan that includes educating yourself, that includes doing work to transform your mindset into having a rich social work mentality or a wealth mentality. You're going to want to set goals and specific plans and take steps to do this. So make sure you watch that video as well. Guys, you're going to need to really get curious about what you've been thinking and look at the results that you have. And if you're not satisfied with those results, that's okay, because it's never too late to start thinking a new thought, having new behaviors, and getting new results. Guys, like and subscribe to this video. Please share it, and I'll see you on the next one.